Yo, everybody, what it do? This is the MMA Toad. I know it's 2025, but we're going to go back and reflect 2024, the greatest year of UFC and MMA history, in my opinion. I'm going to go through, do a little award ceremony. I'm sure you've seen videos like this. Difference between me and them is, well, I get copy striked when I use the clips from UFC on YouTube, and other content creators seem to not really have that issue, so I'm going to rock out, have some fun with my cards. Hope y'all enjoy it. Much love. As always, thank you for hopping through. Also, it would mean the world if y'all could hit me with a like and a subscribe on YouTube. Change my life. I'm not quite in the shed outside my parents' house like Guru, but you know what I mean? Like, I got my own shit I'm dealing with in life. Bathtub's been full of water last 3 days or so. It's the holidays. The plumber's busy. I get it, but fuck, man. Like, I want to have me on this video a bit, but kicking things off to no one's surprise, UFC 300. On paper, looked amazing. In deliverance, the greatest event in MMA history. UFC's greatest card of all time. And yeah, we can look forward to things like UFC 400 and so forth, but the fighters who helped get this sport where it is today, the amount of legacy that was on that card clashing, is also what made it so spectacular. And at the small cost of donating a kidney, giving plasma, all kinds of other shit. No, I didn't quite have to sell my body to be there, but guys, I don't do things like this for myself a lot. And by far, this was the greatest thing I'd ever done for myself of all time. Some little things, little Easter eggs from the event. The real memories are stored in my head, my heart, the people I met, getting a chance to do a couple fight interviews, but just being able to witness this phenomenon in person is for something I'll ever hold deeply. So again, had a lot of fun. This is also the birth of MMA Toad. I had been doing fight predictions for up to about 2.5 years prior to 300, but nothing public. So this kind of motivated me to kind of get out, not be so much of a hermit, so much of an introvert, try messing with the MMA community. And it's been a pleasure meeting y'all. We're pushing 700 on Instagram. Would like to do more on YouTube once I figure out their copy strike shit. And let's vibe out. Let's chill out. Gonna start by recognizing your MVT, the most valuable toad of the year, Alex Poatan Pereira. He stepped in short notice, made this a routine throughout the year, getting the job done in spectacular knockout fashion. He wanted to step in right away at UFC 301 in Rio, making history. UFC did not let him do this, however. He remained active and stepping in short notice throughout the year, being a fucking G. Saltiest fighter of the year, Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. I get the circumstances of why he was so upset, how Herb Dean stepped in and the range got thrown off, but at the end of the day, Jamal did throw the first strike. It didn't go his way, and it was all the things after the fact that really started to grow distasteful in the community. As of recent, you throw in the additional incident at the PI, and what can I say? Poatan's about his business, and Jamal, oh, I don't fight for free. Personally hoping Yuri steps in and gets the job done. I don't know where Carlos fits in this equation. He might be jumping line and fighting Poatan in Australia in February, but if not, I'd like to see Carlos fight Jamal Hill or potentially the winner between him and Yuri. Max Holloway getting the job done at UFC 300, knockout of the year, and one of the greatest knockouts of all time in all combat sports history. It was like a Cinderella story with 1 second left. Everyone counted him out, coming up in weight against an absolute demon in Justin Gaethje. Could not believe that shit. In 1 second, you had Islam at the presser talking his next fight's going to be Gaethje, who's lined up with the BMF, opening up a double champ situation we haven't quite seen with the BMF belt before between the winner of that fight. And Gaethje stepped in, wanted to be more active, wanted to be part of one of the most historic cards. Did not go his way, but it does not change a thing. I absolutely admire this fighter, this warrior, and I look forward to his return in 2025. Personally, the fight to make in 25 would be the return of Dustin, taking on Gaethje for the trilogy. The highest of highs and the lowest of lows award of the year has to go to Bless Holloway. The absolute sensation and adrenaline dump he got with that knockout, just to also feel that crushing pain when he received his first knockout by Ilia Topuria later in the year. I loved his call out, saying the Matador was running from the bull. It was a beautiful story arc, but it just did not go his way. Ilia Topuria with the heel of the year, also receiving an honorary mention in Most Valuable Toad. He's getting the job done against guys who's never been knocked out the way that he's getting it done. With the hands. He isn't catching people with head kicks by surprise. No, he's getting the shit done with his hands. He's absolute savage. The way he's walking people down, keeping that guard nice and tight, finding his entry. He has the most explosive power when he finally sneaks in. He isn't a long, lengthy guy. He's having to literally close the gap and hit people with these dynamite shots, and it's getting the job done. He's got amazing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We don't get to see it demonstrated much. I know a lot of these grapplers, when they fall in love with that knockout, it's hard to turn them away from it. The thing with Ilya is, when he's doing what he's doing with his hands, why would you change a thing? Funny enough, Herbert Mitchell has had him rock the most on the feet so far. So I'm not saying he's bulletproof, but still, he's amazing. The most exciting Toad of the Year award goes to none other than Diego Lopez. Very excited for this kid. Stepped into the scene, had that short notice fight against Mavzar. That bro does not want to smoke on any kind of camp. 5 days notice, he had Mavzar in all kinds of trouble in that fight. And yeah, he's only continued to improve. I love that he lets it go on the feet. He's long and lengthy at 145 pounds. He's just got that extra snap that seems to catch everyone by surprise. I love that he lets his hands go. He's got that anytime, anywhere mentality. And simply put, in that fight against Ortega, I am convinced he knocked out Ortega and woke his ass back up in that same two-piece. And I mean, you know the UFC loves bro. Steps in, Noche, 300. The dude just arrived to the scenes not that long ago, and he's already part of the most historic cards. Invest now. If you're into the cards, pick up some of these rookies. You'll be happy to have them by the time the man's done. I've been saying future champ since 2022. Now he's almost there. Home stretch, regardless if it's Volkanovski or Ilya. I got my bros back. Let's go. Dog of the year, no easy. Going to Dan Hooker. Absolute crazy war with Gamrot. Being able to survive that first round. Was busted open pretty bad. Not going his way. Throughout the fight, starts stuffing the takedowns, delivering the shots back. I know Gamrot had him on damage overall, and I could easily have seen the fight been a draw or a Gamrot, but nonetheless, happy to see Dan Hooker get it done. Sets him up for hopefully an exciting fight in 2025. Rubeski and Orabai, War of the Year. I wish that dude had a card so I could have them side by side, but nonetheless, if you see this face, you can't help but think of the other. That was an absolute crazy fight. Ain't no Colby Covington doctors showing up for that one. The fight would have been stopped long ago. There wasn't a person I've seen watch that fight that wasn't screaming at the TV or in reaction to the shots. Or by opening up that orbital, that eye was busted. Nonetheless, passes the doctor's test and proceeds to get opened up more until finally it gives, and Rubeski is the one eating these thunderous shots from the ground. Orabai opening up Rubeski. They're exchanging more blood than a blood donor. It was absolutely wild, and this is easily one of the greatest fights of all time in the UFC. Comeback of the Year award goes to Money Moicano. He can't afford to lose. He regained that equilibrium, got back up to his feet, and got the job done against the Tarantula, who thought he had secured a walk-off KO at 300. Absolutely foolish mistake, and he pays for it. Now, Moicano's proceeded to have some impressive timeout since. He looked fantastic against BSD. I want to see him fight Paddy Pimblett. That's the fight for 25. Honorable mention for Comeback of the Year. T-City, Brian Ortega comes back against Yair Rodriguez. It did not start good for T-City. He jumped up and down, rolled his ankle at the start of that fight. Began the meme that sadly Chris Barnett followed. Did not look good for Brian. He was getting busted open in that first round. Yair Rodriguez hunting for the finish. Ortega survives the first round, comes back into the second, and then the third had Yair in a really tricky position. Basically, as Yair Rodriguez went to get up, Ortega actually readjusts his knee behind Yair Rodriguez and repositions his hands, essentially setting up a really tight grip that's similar to a rear naked choke, and that's why you saw Rodriguez tap. And the honorable mention for Most Improved Fighter of the Year, Chase the Dream Hooper, has found the ability to work his hands into these fights. He isn't just going in there trying to grapple in force situations. We got to see this, especially against Slava Claus, piecing him up. No one had Hooper by knockout for the most part. I know I say that, and I know a few of you personally who did, but nonetheless, Cooper gets the job done more times than not with submissions. And I'm just so happy that the kid's able to mix it. I'm looking forward to his next fights, hoping the level of competition starts to improve. So sadly, I don't have the best of cards of Joaquin Buckley. He's actually the next hunt in my collection I'm meaning to catch up on, specifically welterweight cards, although I want some of his rookies. New Mansa receives the Most Improved Fighter of the Year award. So happy I got to shake up with him, get to meet him real briefly, and have him, of course, sign this UFC sweater of mine. New Mansa, absolutely sensational what he's able to do. He possesses that power in his hands. He works hard, so I'm not worried about his time progresses, his ability to go 4 or 5 rounds. I'd like to see Buckley fight another killer. Give him Jack, give him Shavkat, fun fights, Ian Gary, Kamaru Usman. I think this would be great. Top submission of the year, your toe tapper award goes to Khamzat Chimaev. Boris is absolutely sick with it. We knew this would be a big test going into middleweight alone, especially fighting some of the top division. Bobby Knuckles, as well-rounded as he is, got completely crushed. And I mean, quite literally folded that bottom jaw of teeth back. I know that he says that he sustained an old injury that got to resurface there in the fight, but it goes to show you that power and torque with Khamzat Chimaev. He's training proper now, out in Russia, Olympian team, championship mentality. He's not fucking off with Darren Till, doing all kinds of dumb shit, and it shows. The next thing I'd like for Khamzat Chimaev is be a little bit more active. Let's get another fight or two. I know he's always constantly battling these issues with his health, his sickness and shit. If he shows up and absolutely destroys DDP, there's no question about it. I say we make the super fight and give the fans what we all want. And I'm talking none other than the super fight between Boris, Khamzat Chimaev, and Poatan. I think this is an interesting clash of styles that we all love. The grappler versus the striker. I do know that Poatan's still got some work to do. He's got to defend against Magomed Ankalaev, and Boris obviously still has to become champ, so there's time to set this up. Let the heavyweights be heavyweights. I know that Poatan's also interested in the ability to potentially jump up and fight John Jones or fight Tom Aspinall, which I know he wouldn't favor nearly as much as the Jones fight. But let's be fair, if you're going to compete with 2024, you have to do something out of the ordinary. You don't have UFC 300. You don't have UFC Noche. I don't give a fuck about the rankings and the difference in weight classes. Khamzat was anywhere, anytime, any weight. Boris expressed his interest in going up in weight 2 to 3 divisions right when he burst on the scene. This would be the most impressive way he could ever do so. I do think, again, these fighters are each a fight or two away from it. But by the end of 25, why not? This is what you need, especially at the end of the year. And if you're not going to give the BMF belt, rightfully so, to Ilia Topuria, who did knock out Max Holloway, then I think it'd be nice to reestablish the belt for this one. I know y'all didn't think Brian Battle was going to show up and lose a fight to a French dude. Yeah, keep booing me, baby. That's right. This year, MMA Toad's Croaker of the Year award goes to Brian Battle. Love the Butcher. Dude brings it. He's about it. He doesn't fuck around. I know he had a tough cut, ironically, for the Butcher, but I do see promise in him. I'm looking forward to his fights moving up. And I also want to give a shout out to his engagement with the community is great. He's also a follower of the MMA Toad, so can't help but even become a bigger fan for that reason alone. Had a chance to say a few words to him. He's got a lot of shit going on. He's got his family, but he always finds time for us too. So much love there. And if you see this, sign that puppy for me, dog. Much love. The most Toad title fight of the year going to none other Dustin Diamond Poirier and Islam Makhachev. Absolute amazing war these two ensued. We knew early in the fight it was going to be a grappling exchange by Islam. Work that control time. Hunt for the submission. Dustin did not let shit go. And throughout the fight, he only improved, showing that he's been working with Gamrot and that takedown defense. Gets back up to the feet. I love DC too, acting like there was even a clash of heads. I saw the camera angle. There's no way he could have mistaken that. He was sticking up for his boy Islam after he got cracked over the brow with that elbow strike, getting back to his feet, hiking up the draws, the diamond, getting into this fight 4th round. Some people had it 2-2 going into the 5th. But Islam's a monster. Gets Dustin down in the deep. He's too tired to fight back and sinks a nice choke. Last but not least, this year's Power Duo Award goes to John Jones and the man himself, Dana White. listen, you put these guys in the same room and John Jones comes out every... No, he doesn't. So, like, here's my thing with John Jones. I'm not ever going to give this man his full credit for being the biggest PED cheat of all time. That being said, when I think of John Jones, his legacy, I think of him at light heavyweight. Being Stipe, who's been 3 years inactive and basically retired, isn't impressive to me. Coming onto the scene in heavyweight, wrestling down Cyril Gane, isn't impressive to me. Fight Time Aspinall. Fight someone who can mix it. Unify the belts. Do your job as a champion. The undisputed champion. Because the interim champ is, if anything, the most active in the division. He's cleaned house of the top 10. He has the shortest fight time average. Fight him. Like, at the end of the day, I just want my heavyweight division back. It's been extremely inactive and full of injuries and bullshit excuses. Like, I just want the heavyweight division back. The health of the organization depends on the heavyweight division coming back at some point. And Tom is your front man. He is your guy that literally is a company guy. He's not sitting here asking for $30 million like John Jones and being a bitch. He wants to do his job. That's the dotted line. He wants to fight. And that's why my most Chad Toad of the Year award goes to Tom Aspinall. Get Francis Ngannou back. Let him fight John Jones. Let's just quit all this chatter and make these fights happen. If this is really what they want, I mean, Ngannou, he's going to always go the boxing route. Let's go ahead and get him booked. Let's get him paid equally like John Jones to come back. Just so we could see this. Just so we could silence the noise. Because this is the dude. Anyways, y'all, I appreciate y'all hopping through and hanging out with me as we went through our award ceremony and proceeded to do some matchmaking, ranting, and whatever else. If you haven't already in the trading card scene, if you've enjoyed the card so far, check out One Punch Cards. It's a way to support Josh Emmett, who's also very interested in the space. And yeah, I'll fire up more videos like this one if y'all end up liking it. Do more matchmaking and get to share some more of my collection. As always, much love. Peace.